Hey guys! So there is very big HIV scientific news this week.
Gwen and I were going to actually take the week off, do some home renovation stuff, very exciting things in our lives. But this week, the news is out there that for the first time, a baby has been functionally cured of HIV. They found out that the mother had HIV while she was in labor, so it was too late for her to go on HIV medications to lessen the risk of the child transmitting HIV during birth. So what happened was, after the child had been born for 30 hours, the doctor decided to put the child on HIV medications. This is something that happens fairly common. A child is put on HIV medications when they are deemed to be at risk for HIV. The child did test positive for HIV and continued the HIV treatments. So they started to miss appointments here and there, and as it turns out, the mother stopped getting the HIV medications for the child. They tested the child, they thought the HIV levels would be through the roof, that they'd have to restart HIV drugs, which is typically what would happen in that situation, but they were shocked to discover that the child actually tested negative for HIV.
That is pretty surprising.
Absolutely. So currently the child is 2 years old, tests negative for HIV. The suspicion is that HIV is still in the child's body, just hidden in little reservoirs that tests can't get to. But basically the child is not infectious, doesn't have any signs of HIV infection. And basically from here they're just going to monitor the child, continue to get the child tested over time, and just kind of see what happens.
That's why if you hear about this story, you often hear it called a functional cure, and that's because they're a little afraid to say it's a cure just yet. One reason is that the child's only 2 years old and has only not been on HIV medications for 10 months. So they're not exactly sure what could happen in the future. While this is really good news, and Shawn and I were very excited to hear about it and read all about it, and I'm sure the scientific community is very interested as well, this is not something that would really be applicable to the masses.
Unfortunately, at this point in time, there isn't a cure for HIV.
The reasons they think this has worked is because they were able to start HIV treatments within 30 hours, basically, of infection. Now, that is not something that you can really do in a general setting, start treatment within 30 hours of infection. So that's one reason why this is not something to get overly excited about for people who are already HIV positive. And even for all babies, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to work in all babies. But that's not to kind of put a damper on it, it's just to be realistic about what this really means in terms of people already living with HIV.
In the last decade, mother-to-child transmission of HIV has gone down significantly. That's because usually the female is tested for HIV during the course of her pregnancy. If that test comes back positive, then the mother-to-be takes HIV drugs at a certain point in her pregnancy, and that greatly reduces the risk of transmission in the womb of the child and also during the birthing process. So right now, really, the effort should be on making sure that every woman who is pregnant receives an HIV test, especially if she's engaged in high-risk behavior. If she's conceived a child, that means there probably has been unprotected sex, so it's probably a good idea to get an HIV test.
If you're not sure how babies are made, then look that up on YouTube somewhere else. Again, while Shawn and I are very excited about this news, we wanted to explain to you guys a little bit about what it really means. And I know that probably everyone's reading things that say, hey, there's a cure for HIV, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. And there's a lot of discovery yet to happen in the future with this specific child and with other children. So don't give up your condoms just yet, and stay safe.
So for Gwen and I, it's back to the kitchen, get those new appliances up and running, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya!
Bye.
Bye.